So the prerequisite, or maybe litmus test for me, for every device that I purchase specifically, is not based on the actual operating system. It's based on the camera, how well it performs, how well it does in low light scenarios, the high dynamic range, the contrast, the saturation, the overall sharpness, and then obviously the consistency and accuracy. So from being a Pixel person, I switched over to the iPhone 13 Pro last year. I felt like it was a pretty good option to go with. I noticed that it was relatively consistent across the board in comparison to the Pixel, in which I noticed taking photos, you tend to have more natural colors, which I actually enjoyed, but I noticed a lot of motion blur, specifically with objects that were moving, and this is mainly because of the fact that every time you took a photo of something, it took a little longer to process these photos. So I switched over to the iPhone 13 Pro. I was thoroughly impressed with the consistency. I wasn't a fan too much of the actual saturation as far as the color saturation. I noticed that most individuals tended to have a more reddish orange look to them, or hue to them. But I did notice that the processing time was significantly reduced. I could take many more photos in concession with each other without having any kind of issues. No lag issues, no overheating issues, nothing like that. So I stuck with the iPhone 13 Pro. And I kind of flipped back and forth a few times to the Pixel 6 and then the Pixel 6 Pro. One thing that I use a lot, however, is the front-facing camera when I'm doing videos or Instagram videos or whatever it may be. The front-facing camera has always been kind of my go-to, and I've always really put a lot of emphasis on that. So I decided to upgrade to the iPhone 14 Pro. Long story short, Dynamic Island. A lot of people are talking about how innovative it is. Yes, it's innovative. However, I think personally the design choices that they made were just not so great. And one of the main reasons why is, yes, you get some notifications, and yes, you can utilize that area for touch aspects, but every time you're doing that, you're smudging up your front-facing camera. And so every time you want to do a video like I'm doing right now, or do a selfie or whatever it may be, utilizing your front-face camera, you have to constantly clean that area, which is really agitating. I also noticed, due to I'm pretty sure this is due to the new sensor that's being utilized for their standard wide angle, which is I think a 48 megapixel sensor that they're using. The pixel binning tends to, yes, you're getting more light and high dynamic range and low light in areas that have a lot of shadow, but I noticed specifically when I was taking photos of individuals outdoors with good sunlight in general, and it seemed to be a little bit softer. The photos were a little bit softer, in my opinion, than what I was noticing on the iPhone 13 Pro, as well as the Pixel 6 Pro. Now again, the Pixel 6 Pro tends to over sharpen. You get very crisp, sharpened, detailed photos, which some people like, some people don't like. I personally like that when I'm taking photos of other individuals. I don't like it when I'm taking pictures of myself. But that said, the Dynamic Island, I think, is a kind of a design flaw. Innovation, maybe, sure, you could say that, but honestly, you could do that on an Android device too if you wanted to. Actually, Samsung's already doing something like similar to that. But the issue is, again, smudging up that camera, and also the eye. When you're outdoors and direct sunlight, you literally can see that cutout for that eye. Personally, I would have just stuck with the cutout from the eye, which John Prosser actually showed some photos of months and months ago, and just been like, hey, yeah, that's kind of a little eye for iPhone. Marketing, whatever. But I just don't think it's a great design. So I ended up getting rid of the iPhone 14 Pro. I went back to the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Currently recording this on a Pixel 6 Pro in 1080p. But let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know if you've had any kind of problems with the iPhone camera as far as quality is concerned. Have you noticed softening of photos? Is it just me being anal retentive? Have you had an issue with smudging up your front-facing camera quite often because of the touch aspects of Dynamic Island? Let me know. Thanks.